Your soulmate saying, "I never expected to miss you this much until today. Open this now." My beloved child, something changed inside your soulmate today, and it happened so suddenly that even they were not prepared for the emotion that followed. For days, they had been convincing themselves that they were fine, that distance was manageable, that staying busy could silence the memories of you. But today, one ordinary moment shattered that illusion. They saw something that reminded them of you. A familiar place, a small detail, perhaps even a simple moment they once would have shared with you, and suddenly everything they had been holding back rushed to the surface. Their first thought was almost impossible for them to admit: "I never expected to miss you this much until today." Don't skip, because what happened after that realization is where this becomes far more powerful than simple loneliness. They didn't just remember you. They began remembering the little things they once overlooked, the way your presence made certain moments feel easier, the conversations that stayed in their mind longer than they admitted, and the strange sense of calm they associated with you. And then came the question they could no longer avoid: what if losing your presence taught them what having you truly meant? That question followed them everywhere. They tried distracting themselves, but another memory appeared. They tried focusing on something else, but your name seemed to return to their thoughts without permission. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with a realization your soulmate never thought they would have to face. They are beginning to understand that missing someone is not always about wanting yesterday back. Sometimes it is about finally recognizing what yesterday was trying to teach you. And today, your soulmate understood something that shook their certainty: your absence feels different from everyone else's. Why? Why could they move forward from other people and other chapters, yet something about you remained unfinished? Why did the smallest reminder suddenly carry so much emotion? They kept returning to one possibility: that perhaps they had underestimated what you meant to them until they were forced to experience a day when they desperately wished you were beside them. And the strangest thing is that this realization did not arrive during some dramatic moment. It arrived quietly. That made it impossible to dismiss. Later, when everything around them became quieter, the feeling grew stronger instead of disappearing. Your soulmate started replaying moments they had never examined this deeply before. A conversation where you understood what they were trying to say before they finished saying it. A moment when your presence changed their entire mood. A time when they almost told you something important but held themselves back because they assumed there would always be another opportunity. Now those memories feel different. Don't skip, because this is where their thoughts took an unexpected turn. Instead of asking, "Why am I missing them?" they began asking, "What if they stop missing me?" That question changed everything. Until today, some part of them may have believed that your connection would simply remain there, waiting whenever they were ready to understand it. But suddenly they imagined you becoming completely comfortable without them. They imagined you waking up one morning and no longer wondering what they were thinking. They imagined your life becoming full enough that their absence no longer created an empty space. And for the first time, that possibility bothered them more than they expected. What happens when someone finally realizes that the person they assumed would always emotionally remain nearby may actually be moving forward? What happens when pride becomes less important than connection? Your soulmate began seeing the difference between missing attention and missing a person. Attention can be replaced. Familiar routines can change. But the feeling attached to one particular person can remain even when everything else moves forward. That is what surprised them today. They were not simply missing having someone around. They were missing you specifically. Your voice. Your energy. Your way of making ordinary moments feel meaningful. Stay till the end, because the realization that followed was even bigger. They began wondering whether you had ever felt this exact ache while waiting for them to understand. That thought brought a completely different emotion into the room. Suddenly, they were not only thinking about their own feelings. They were thinking about yours. Did you ever look at your phone hoping their name would appear? Did you ever wonder why they could not simply say what was obvious between you? Did you ever grow tired of waiting for clarity? Those questions are forcing them to see your connection from a perspective they avoided before. And now comes the moment they were not prepared for, because today did not merely make your soulmate miss you. It made them question the choices that created this distance in the first place. My beloved child, they are beginning to understand that some feelings become louder when there is nothing left to distract you from them. Something huge is waiting for you here, because your soulmate has reached the point where remembering you is no longer enough. They are thinking about what they would actually say if you were standing in front of them right now. At first, they imagined keeping it simple. They would tell you they had been thinking about you. But that sentence suddenly felt too small. Then they imagined saying they missed you, yet even that did not capture what today had shown them. The truth forming inside them is deeper. I thought I understood what you meant to me, but I didn't understand until I felt what the day was like without you in it. Would you expect them to admit something like that? More importantly, would you believe them if they finally did? Don't skip, because their next realization could become the turning point. Your soulmate remembered something you once said or did that they did not fully appreciate at the time. Today, the meaning finally landed differently. It made them wonder whether you had been showing them your value all along while they were too distracted by uncertainty to recognize it. And suddenly they felt an urge to reach toward you. Not because someone told them to, not because they were bored, but because the silence itself had become an answer. They finally understood what they were searching for inside that silence, you. Yet something is still holding them back. There is one question they cannot answer, and it is the question making this moment so intense. If they finally open their heart, will they still find the same door open on your side? They do not know. That uncertainty is why today feels so different. Before, they were deciding whether to speak. Now they are wondering whether they waited too long. Stay till the end, because what they are beginning to consider doing next is something they once told themselves they would never do, and the reason is hidden inside one memory of you that returned today stronger than all the others. There is one memory your soulmate keeps returning to, and strangely, it is not the biggest moment you shared, it is one of the quietest. A conversation that seemed ordinary at the time. A look they did not fully understand. A moment when you stayed patient even though you could have walked away emotionally. Today, that memory feels completely different because they finally understand what was hidden inside it. You were giving them something genuine without demanding that they immediately prove themselves worthy of it. And now they are asking themselves a question they cannot escape. Why did I recognize the value of that moment only after it was gone? My beloved child, don't skip, because their answer surprised even them. They realized they had mistaken familiarity for permanence. Because your presence felt natural, they assumed there would always be another conversation, another chance, another day to say what remained unsaid. But today taught them that meaningful connections cannot be placed on a shelf and expected to remain unchanged forever. They began imagining what they would do if they suddenly had one uninterrupted hour with you. Would they waste it pretending everything was casual? Would they hide behind small talk? Or would they finally look at you and admit, "I missed you more than I ever thought I could"? Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Their thoughts went even further. They imagined hearing your voice again, and instead of rehearsing clever words, they found themselves wanting to ask one simple question: "Are you really okay without me?" Why would that question matter so much? Because somewhere inside them lives a fear they did not have before today, the fear that while they were learning how deeply they missed you, you may have been learning how peacefully you could live without waiting for them. That possibility has changed the entire emotional balance. Suddenly, your soulmate is not thinking about whether you still care enough to wait. They are wondering whether they have done enough to deserve another honest conversation with you. And that is when another truth entered their mind: missing you means nothing if they continue doing nothing about it. The next shift happened when they stopped romanticizing the past and started examining their own behavior. That was uncomfortable, because memories are easy when you only remember the beautiful pieces. But your soulmate began remembering the moments when they could have been clearer, warmer, braver, or simply more honest. What if they had told you sooner that your presence mattered? What if they had stopped assuming you could read every feeling they refused to say aloud? What if the distance between you was never created by a lack of emotion, but by too many emotions left unspoken? Don't skip, because this is the point where missing you began turning into something stronger: intention. They no longer want to simply sit with memories and wonder what might have happened. They are considering breaking a pattern they have protected for far too long. But before they do, there is something they desperately want to know about you. If their name appeared in front of you today, what would you feel first? Relief? Curiosity? Happiness? Or would you hesitate because you remember how uncertain everything once felt? That question matters because your soulmate knows they cannot return with the same energy that created the distance. If they approach you, they know it has to be different. Clearer. More sincere. More mature. Something huge is waiting for you, because today they finally admitted something privately that they could never have admitted before: they do not only miss the version of you from the past. They miss the possibility of discovering who you are now. Think about that. They know time may have changed you. Your priorities may be different. Your boundaries may be stronger. Your heart may no longer respond to empty promises. And strangely, instead of making them want to disappear, that realization makes them want to understand you again. They are asking themselves, if I had another chance to know this person without assumptions, what would I do differently? Their answer keeps becoming clearer. They would listen more. They would stop leaving important things unsaid. They would stop expecting tomorrow to carry conversations that belong to today. And above everything, they would make sure you never again had to guess whether you mattered. But there is another reason today affected them so deeply, and this is the detail they have not been able to shake. At some point, your soulmate realized that the thing they missed most was not a particular conversation, place, or memory. It was who they became around you. My beloved child, stay till the end, because that realization opened a door they had been keeping closed. Around certain people, they always felt the need to perform, explain themselves, or hide pieces of what they were feeling. But with you, there were moments when they felt understood without having to create a perfect version of themselves. They did not recognize how rare that was until today. Now they are asking, was I searching everywhere for a feeling I had already experienced with this person? And once that question appeared, they could not push it away. Don't skip. The next thought was even more powerful. What if missing you this intensely is not asking them to return blindly to yesterday, but asking them to finally become honest about tomorrow? That distinction matters. They know nostalgia alone cannot build anything meaningful. They know beautiful memories cannot replace real communication. So now their mind is moving toward action, not dramatic promises, not impossible declarations, but one sincere step that could finally reveal where both of you stand. They are imagining reaching out and saying what pride once prevented them from saying. I don't know where this conversation will lead, but I know I don't want silence to speak for me anymore. Yet just before they make that move, another memory has surfaced, and this one changes the meaning of everything. It is something you once said that sounded simple when they first heard it, but today they suddenly understood what you were really trying to tell them. Why did those words return now? Why did they remember the exact feeling attached to them? And why did remembering them make your soulmate realize that you may have known something about this connection long before they were ready to see it? Something huge is waiting for you, because those forgotten words are now pushing them toward a decision they never expected to make today. What your soulmate remembered today was a sentence they once treated like an ordinary expression of emotion, but now it feels almost impossible to ignore. You may have told them, in one way or another, that people sometimes understand the importance of a connection only when silence replaces what once felt familiar. Back then, they may have heard the words without truly absorbing them. Today, they understand. My beloved child, don't skip, because that memory caused something inside them to shift. They sat with the uncomfortable possibility that you had already tried to show them what mattered, while they were still assuming there would always be more time. And then another question appeared. What if you stopped explaining yourself because you became tired of proving the value of something they should have recognized naturally? That thought hit harder than they expected. Suddenly, your soulmate began connecting moments that once seemed unrelated, the times you became quieter, the moments when you waited for them to say something meaningful, and the conversations where there was clearly more beneath the surface than either of you admitted. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. They are beginning to understand that your silence may never have meant you stopped caring. Perhaps it meant you reached a point where you needed actions instead of uncertainty. And today, for the first time, your soulmate is asking themselves whether they were waiting for you to make another move when the next move was actually theirs. Imagine that realization arriving all at once. They thought missing you would simply make them nostalgic, but instead it is forcing them to become accountable for what happens next. I never expected to miss you this much until today, is no longer just something they feel, it is becoming something they want you to know. But how do they say it without making it sound like another temporary emotion? How do they show you that today changed something instead of merely telling you? That is the question occupying their mind now. And strangely, the more they think about it, the less interested they become in finding perfect words. They simply want truthful ones. Then came the most surprising realization of all. Your soulmate stopped asking whether reaching out would make them look vulnerable and started wondering what could happen if they remained silent. That change is enormous because silence once felt safe to them. Silence meant they could avoid rejection, difficult questions, and the possibility of discovering that you no longer felt the same. But now silence has started feeling riskier than honesty. Don't skip, because this is where everything begins moving toward a decision. Your soulmate imagined another week passing without saying anything. Then another month. They pictured themselves continuing to wonder about you while pretending everything was fine. And suddenly that future looked far more uncomfortable than simply telling you the truth. What would you do if someone finally approached you without games, without confusing signals, and without pretending they cared less than they actually did? Would you listen? Would you ask why it took them this long? Your soulmate knows those questions may come, and they are beginning to accept that they cannot control your response. What they can control is whether they finally become honest. Something huge is waiting for you, because the message forming inside their mind is not what they originally planned to say. At first, they wanted to send something casual, something safe enough that they could retreat if your response felt distant. But every time they imagined doing that, it felt wrong. Today was too meaningful for another half-hearted conversation. So the words changed. In their mind, they began with, "I need to tell you something I wasn't expecting to feel this strongly." Then came the sentence they had been avoiding, "I miss you." But even that was not enough. They wanted you to understand that they were not reaching out because one lonely moment made them sentimental. They were reaching out because today forced them to recognize a pattern they had been denying. You kept returning to their thoughts because something between you remained emotionally unresolved. And now they want to know whether that unfinished feeling exists only inside them. Or whether somewhere inside you, a question has remained unanswered too. But just when your soulmate thought they finally understood everything, one final thought stopped them completely. What if this conversation is not supposed to recreate what you had, but reveal whether something better could exist now? My beloved child, stay till the end, because this is the difference that may determine everything. Your soulmate no longer wants to approach you expecting you to become exactly who you were before. They know both of you have experienced things, learned things, and perhaps changed in ways the other person has never seen. That means any meaningful connection now would need honesty, patience, and a willingness to discover each other again. Don't skip, because they have finally reached a conclusion that would have frightened them before. If you tell them that you need time, they are prepared to respect it. If you ask difficult questions, they want to answer them. If you tell them that words are not enough anymore, they understand why. And if there is still an opening for one sincere conversation, they do not want to waste it. Something huge is waiting for you, because today your soulmate stopped viewing their feelings as something to hide and started seeing them as something they must understand. They are standing emotionally between two choices now: return to the familiar silence and keep wondering, or step into uncertainty and finally tell you, "I never expected to miss you this much until today." Which choice do you think they can live with tomorrow? That question has been